The stars above Earth burned with alien fire. Admiral Kim Dae-ho stood on the bridge of the Soul's Pride, watching his fleet die one ship at a time. The Vorthak had come from beyond the outer planets like a plague of living crystal, their ships glowing with deadly light as they tore through humanity's defenses. "Sir, the Beijing's honor just went dark," reported his communications officer. Kim watched another dot disappear from his tactical display. That made 17 ships lost in the last hour. The enemy vessels looked nothing like human ships. They were massive crystal formations that grew and changed shape as they fought. When human weapons hit them, they would crack and splinter only to heal themselves moments later. Worse, they seemed to learn from each attack, becoming harder to damage with every passing minute. Captain Park Soo-jin's voice crackled through the comm from Aegis Station, the orbital defense platform protecting the Luna colonies. "Admiral, I'm reading 3 more Vorthak destroyer-class ships coming in from Sector 7. My guns are running low on ammunition." Kim closed his eyes for a moment. They had been fighting for 6 days straight. Earth's unified fleet had started with over 200 ships. Now he could count the survivors on his hands. Down on the planet's surface, General Choi Min-ho was leading the ground defense from what remained of New Geneva. The city had been beautiful once, with its gleaming towers reaching toward the sky. Now those towers lay in ruins, and Choi's soldiers fought from bunkers and collapsed buildings against the crystal creatures that the Vorthak ships had dropped like seeds. "These things don't die easily," Choi reported during their last communication. "We hit them with everything we have and they just keep coming. It's like they're made of living rock." In the deep bunkers beneath the destroyed city, Dr. Han So-ra worked frantically in her laboratory. As Earth's top expert on alien life, she had been studying captured Vorthak materials for days, trying to find some weakness they could exploit. The crystal samples on her lab table pulsed with a faint blue light. Every test she ran came back, with the same impossible results. The Vorthak weren't just aliens, they were something entirely outside human understanding. Their bodies were made of a silicon-based compound that could repair itself and adapt to threats in real time. "They're not individual creatures," she told her assistant as she examined the samples under a microscope. "They're all connected somehow, like pieces of one giant mind." Back in space, Lee Taemin sweated over his weapons console aboard Aegis Station. He had been firing the platform's massive guns nonstop for hours, but for every Vorthak ship they destroyed, 2 more seemed to take its place. "Captain Park," he called out, "the enemy formation is changing again. They're adapting to our firing patterns." Park nodded grimly. She had noticed it too. The Vorthak ships moved with perfect coordination, like they shared a single brain. When her gunners found a weakness in their defenses, the aliens would shift their formations to protect that spot. It was like fighting an opponent who could see every move before you made it. The worst part was the silence. Human ships filled the radio waves with chatter, orders, reports, jokes to keep morale up. The Vorthak made no sound at all. They simply appeared, attacked, and destroyed with cold efficiency. "Admiral," called Captain Song Ji-woo from his badly damaged destroyer, the Busan Runner. "Long-range sensors are picking up something big coming from the asteroid belt. It's massive." "Sir?" "Bigger than anything we've seen." Kim felt his heart sink as the new contact appeared on his screens. The Vorthak dreadnought was the size of a small moon, its crystalline surface crawling with weapon emplacements. It moved slowly but steadily toward Earth, and Kim knew that nothing in his fleet could stop it. "All ships," he broadcast on the fleet frequency. "This is Admiral Kim. We fought well, but we're facing extinction. I'm activating the Beacon Protocol." The Beacon Protocol was humanity's last desperate plan. If Earth faced complete destruction, they would send out a signal to the entire galaxy, hoping that someone, somewhere, would hear their call for help. Dr. Han had helped design the beacon months ago. When Earth's leaders first realized how desperate their situation was becoming, it would broadcast on every frequency they could generate, carrying humanity's story, their culture, their plea for aid into the dark between the stars. "Sir," his communications officer said quietly, "the beacon is ready. Should I activate it?" Kim looked at the tactical display one more time. His fleet was scattered and broken, The orbital platforms were running out of ammunition, the ground forces were being overrun. And now this massive dreadnought was coming to finish what the smaller ships had started. "Do it," he ordered. The signal burst out from Earth like an invisible wave, carrying humanity's message across the void. It told the story of a young species that had just reached the stars, only to find death waiting for them. It carried samples of human music, art, and literature. It showed pictures of Earth's blue oceans and green continents, and it begged anyone listening to remember that humanity had existed, even if they were about to be wiped out. General Choi's voice came through the comm from the surface, barely audible over the sound of explosions. "Admiral, they're breaking through our last defense lines. I don't think we can hold them much longer." Captain Park reported from Aegis Station, her voice tight with exhaustion. "My ammunition reserves are at 12%. The Luna evacuation, ships are still loading civilians, but if that dreadnought gets much closer..." Kim watched the massive alien ship growing larger on his screens. Its crystal surface pulsed with malevolent energy, and he could see smaller ships swarming around it like angry insects. Soon, it would be close enough to begin its final attack on Earth itself. He thought about his family, safe in the bunkers, far below. He thought about all the people depending on him to find a miracle. But as he looked at his broken fleet and the approaching dreadnought, Kim realized that miracles were in short supply. "All ships," he broadcast, "prepare for final defense of Earth. Whatever happens, we make them pay for every inch." The human ships moved into their last formation, battered but defiant. Against impossible odds, they prepared to make their final stand. Above them, the stars watched silently as two species prepared to decide the fate of the blue planet hanging in the darkness. The beacon continued to broadcast, sending humanity's voice into the void, hoping against hope that someone would hear. The Vorthak dreadnought filled the view screen like a crystal mountain floating through space. Admiral Kim Dae-ho watched it approach Earth with the slow certainty of death itself. His remaining ships formed a thin line between the massive alien vessel and the planet, but they all knew it was hopeless. "Sir," called his sensor operator, "the dreadnought is charging what looks like a planet-killer weapon. Energy readings are off the charts." Kim gripped the arms of his command chair. Minutes that weapon would fire and Earth would crack like an egg. The blue world that had given birth to humanity would become nothing but scattered debris floating in space. Captain Song Ji-woo aboard the damaged Busan runner was running every scan he could think of, hoping to find some weakness in the approaching monster. His ship's sensors swept across the dreadnought's crystalline hull, measuring its size and power. The readings made no sense. "Captain," his science officer said, "I'm getting strange readings from the space between us and the dreadnought. It's like something is there, but not there." Song frowned and checked his displays. Space looked empty, but his instruments kept detecting odd energy patterns. "Run a full spectrum scan," he ordered. "Check for cloaking fields." As the scan completed, Song's eyes widened. "Admiral Kim," he called over the fleet frequency, "you need to see this. There's something big hiding between us and the enemy ship." Before Kim could respond, space itself began to shimmer. The stars seemed to bend and twist, like looking at the bottom of a pond through moving water. Then, with a sound like thunder that somehow reached them through the vacuum, something massive appeared. The ship that Decloaked was unlike anything in human databases. It was enormous, easily 3 times the size of the Soul's Pride, but it moved with a fluid grace that made it seem alive. Its hull was dark gray metal that seemed to absorb light, and strange energy patterns danced across its surface like living lightning. "What in the name of..." Kim started to say, then stopped as his communications officer held up a hand. "Sir, it's transmitting. On an old Earth frequency and..." "Sir, it's speaking Korean." The voice that came through the speakers was calm and confident, with the accent of someone from the southern provinces. "This is Captain Yoon Hae Young of the exploration vessel Eternal Journey. Earth forces, hold your fire, we're coming home." Kim felt like someone had hit him in the chest. The ship's energy signature was definitely human, but the technology was impossible. His science officers were already running scans, and their readings made no sense. Dr. Han Sora's voice came through. From her bunker laboratory, she had been monitoring the fleet frequencies when the ship appeared. "Admiral, I'm analyzing the new vessel's hull composition. The materials, they don't exist in our periodic table. And that energy source, it looks like they're using a controlled black hole for power." The mysterious ship began to move, positioning itself directly between Earth and the Vorthak dreadnought. As it turned, Kim could see weapon ports opening along its sides, but the energy signatures were nothing like human weapons. They pulsed with the same blue-white light that danced across the hull. "Earth Fleet Commander," came Captain Yoon's voice. "Again, I know you have questions, but right now we need to focus on stopping that dreadnought. Our scans show it's about to fire a planet cracker weapon." "Who are you?" Kim demanded. "Where did you come from? How do you have human energy signatures? With impossible technology?" There was a pause before Yoon answered. "Admiral, we are the children and grandchildren of the colony ship New Horizon. We've been gone for a long time, and we've learned a few things, but explanations can wait. That dreadnought is preparing to fire." Kim's mind raced. The New Horizon had been Earth's first deep space colony mission, launched over 300 years ago. The ship had disappeared into a spatial anomaly near the edge of the solar system and was presumed lost with all hands. Captain Park Soo-jin's voice crackled from Aegis Station. "Admiral, if they're really from the New Horizon, how are they still alive? And how did they get technology that advanced?" Before Kim could answer, the Eternal Journey's weapons came online. The energy that built up along its hull was beautiful and terrifying at the same time. When the ship fired, reality seemed to bend around its weapons. The beams that lanced out toward the Vorthak dreadnought didn't just hit the target, they passed through its crystal shields like they weren't there. The dreadnought's hull, which had shrugged off every weapon in Earth's arsenal, cracked and shattered where the Eternal Journey's beams touched it. Massive chunks of crystalline armor broke away and tumbled into space. "Impossible," breathed Captain Song from the Busan runner. "Nothing can penetrate Vorthak shields." But even as he spoke, the alien ship began to repair itself. The cracks sealed and new crystal growth spread across the damaged areas. Within minutes, it looked as good as new. "Interesting," came Captain Yoon's voice. "They adapt faster than our models predicted. Admiral Kim, we need to coordinate our attacks. Your ships may be primitive, but they use different energy patterns. The Vorthak will have trouble adapting to multiple unknown variables." Kim bristled at the word primitive, but he couldn't argue with the results. "What do you need from us?" "Form up behind us in Delta formation. When we engage, fire everything you have at the points where our weapons hit. Don't try to target new areas. Focus on keeping the damage from healing." As the human ships moved into position, Lee Tae-min at Aegis Station watched the Eternal Journey prepare for another attack. "Captain Park," he said quietly, "look at the way that ship moves. It's like it's reading the enemy's thoughts." Park nodded. The mysterious vessel seemed to know where the Vorthak weapons would fire before they actually did. It twisted and turned through space, avoiding beams that should have been impossible to dodge. General Choi's voice came through from the surface, where his forces were still fighting the crystal creatures. "Admiral, whatever that ship is doing, it's working. The ground forces are pulling back to their ships. It's like they got new orders." Dr. Han was analyzing every piece of data she could gather about the new vessel. "Admiral, their ship's quantum signature is definitely human, but it's been modified somehow. The energy patterns suggest they've been exposed to exotic matter for extended periods." The Eternal Journey fired again, and this time the human fleet fired with it. The combined attack opened massive wounds in the dreadnought's hull, and for a moment it looked like they might actually win. But then something changed. The dreadnought's crystal surface began to pulse with a new kind of light, and the wounds started healing faster than before. Worse, smaller Vorthak ships began emerging from hidden ports along its hull. "Admiral," Captain Yoon's voice had lost some of its confidence. "It's learning from our attacks. We need to try something different, or this fight is going to get a lot harder." Kim looked at his tactical display. The human fleet was still outnumbered and outgunned, but now they had an ally with impossible technology. The question was whether it would be enough. "Captain Yoon," he said, "I think it's time for those explanations. If we're going to win this fight, we need to know what we're working with. The space around Earth lit up with weapons fire as two human fleets separated by 3 centuries but united by blood, prepared to face the alien threat together. In the distance, the Vorthak dreadnought continued its slow advance, its crystal hull reflecting the light of battle like a deadly prism. The eternal journey twisted through space like a dancer, its hull gleaming as it avoided another wave of crystal projectiles from the Vorthak dreadnought. Admiral Kim Dae-ho watched from the Soul's Pride as the mysterious ship did things that should have been impossible. "Admiral," called his science officer, "that ship just phased through a solid barrier. Our sensors show it became non-corporeal for exactly 3 seconds. Captain Yoon's voice came through the calm despite the chaos around them. "Earth Fleet, prepare for Coordinated Strike Pattern 7. We're going to target the dreadnoughts. Power Core." "Pattern 7? Kim asked. "We don't have a Pattern 7. You do now. Follow our lead and fire when we fire. Trust us." The eternal journey suddenly accelerated toward the massive alien ship at speeds that should have turned its crew into paste. But instead of crashing into the crystal hull, it passed through it like a ghost. For a moment, Kim could see it flying. Inside the dreadnought itself, its weapons firing at targets only it could see. Then it phased back into normal space, and the alien ship's entire left side exploded in a shower of crystal fragments. "Now!" Yoon shouted, and every human ship fired at once. The combined barrage tore into the wound the eternal journey had created, preventing it from healing. For the first time since the battle began, the dreadnought actually staggered in space. "Impressive," came a new voice over the comm. "This is Chief Engineer Nam Kyung-soo. Admiral Kim, we need to talk." A holographic projection appeared on Kim's bridge, showing a man in his 40s wearing a uniform that looked almost like Earth-Navy regulation, but with subtle differences. His face was weathered but kind, and his eyes held a wisdom that seemed far older than his apparent age. "I know you have questions," Nam said. "The truth is we're your descendants, but not in the way you think." Captain Park Soo-jin's voice came from Aegis Station. "What do you mean, descendants? The New Horizon left only 300 years ago." Another hologram appeared, this one showing a woman with short black hair and the confident bearing of a ship's navigator. "This is Navigator Bae Yoonji. 300 years is correct by your time, Admiral. By our time, it's been much longer." Kim felt a chill run down his spine. "How much longer?" "About 3,000 years subjective time," came Captain Yoon's voice. "The spatial anomaly we entered didn't just transport us across space. It transported us to a pocket dimension where time moves differently." Dr. Han So-ra's voice crackled through from her laboratory bunker. "That's impossible. No human could live for 3,000 years. A new hologram appeared, showing an elderly man with kind eyes and hands that never stopped moving. Dr. Oh Jin-woo, quantum physicist. "Dr. Han, you're right that normal humans couldn't survive that long, but we're not entirely normal anymore." The battle continued around them as the holograms spoke. The human fleet kept firing at the dreadnought, but Kim found himself fascinated by these people who claimed to be from humanity's lost past. "What happened to you out there?" he asked. Bae Yoonji smiled sadly. "We found something wonderful and terrible, Admiral. The anomaly led us to a place where reality works differently. There we met the architects." "Architects?" "Being so old that they remember when the galaxy was young," Dr. O explained. "They had transcended physical form eons ago, but they still watched over younger species. They saw potential in humanity." Nam Kyung-soo's hologram gestured toward the eternal journey, which was now engaging smaller Vorthak ships with weapons that seemed to bend space around them. "They taught us to modify ourselves, to live longer and think faster. They shared technology that your science won't discover for millennia." "But why?" Kim asked. "Why would they help humans?" "Because they had seen the future," came Captain Yoon's voice heavy with sadness. "They knew what was coming for Earth. The dreadnought was adapting again, its crystal hull growing new configurations that deflected both human and advanced weapons. But now Kim could see the pattern. Every time they damaged it, it learned. Every time they tried a new tactic, it countered. The Vorthak aren't just raiders, Dr. O continued. They're running from something worse, and that something is coming here. Captain Song Ji-woo's voice came from the Busan runner. What could be worse than planet-eating crystals? The Devourers, Bae-yunji said quietly. Entities that consume entire dimensions. The Vorthak are trying to fortify this system against their arrival. Kim felt the universe shift around him. Are you saying they're not invaders? They're defenders? In their own terrible way, yes, Captain Yoon replied. But their method of defense requires harvesting the silicon in Earth's core. Humanity would be extinct either way. Lee Taemin called out from Aegis Station. Captain Park, the dreadnought is changing formation again. It's almost like it heard what they just said. Dr. Han's voice was sharp with sudden understanding. Admiral, if the Vorthak have a hive mind and they're intelligent enough to understand human speech, they know we know, Kim finished. The question is, what do they do about it? The massive alien ship suddenly stopped firing. The smaller Vorthak vessels pulled back into defensive positions, but they didn't retreat. For the first time since the battle began, space around Earth grew quiet. This is interesting, Nam Kyung-soo said. They're trying to communicate. A new sound filled the comm channels. Not voice, but a complex harmonic pattern that sounded almost like music. It was beautiful and alien, rising and falling in patterns that seemed to carry meaning. Can you translate that? Kim asked. Dr. O's hologram nodded. The architects taught us their universal translation protocols. Give me a moment. He closed his eyes, and his fingers moved in complex patterns over invisible controls. They're asking why we're helping the small ones, he said finally. They want to know if we understand the greater threat. Captain Yoon's voice was thoughtful. Admiral Kim, I think we're about to have the first diplomatic conversation between humans and an alien species. The question is, do we trust each other? Enough to work together? The dreadnought hung in space like a crystal mountain, its weapons powered down but ready. Around it, the scattered human fleets waited for orders. Between them, the eternal journey floated like a bridge between past and future. What are you suggesting? Kim asked. That we do what humans do best, Yoon replied. We adapt. We find a way to turn an enemy into an ally. And we figure out how to save everyone, even the ones who were trying to kill us 5 minutes ago. General, Choi's voice came from the surface where his forces were still watching Vorthak ground troops who had suddenly stopped attacking. Admiral, whatever you're planning, decide fast. I've got crystal creatures down here who look like they're waiting for new orders. Kim looked at his tactical display, then at the holograms of these descendants from humanity's lost colony ship. Everything he had believed about the war, about the enemy, about humanity's place in the galaxy, had just changed. Captain Yoon, he said finally, tell me about these devourers, and tell me fast because I think we're about to need each other more than we know. The silence in space felt wrong. For hours, the area around Earth had been filled with weapons fire and explosions. Now the Vorthak dreadnought floated quietly, while its crystal song echoed through the communication channels, and Admiral Kim Daeho found the peace more terrifying than the battle. Admiral, Dr. Oh Jinwoo's hologram said, his face pale with concentration. I'm getting clearer translations now. The Vorthak are asking if we understand the dark hunger that follows them. They want to know if we're prepared to face extinction. Captain Yoon Hae-young's voice came through the comm from the eternal journey. Kim, we need to make a choice. The architects showed us what the devourers do to worlds they find. Entire star systems just gone. Not destroyed, not consumed. Gone like they never existed. Kim looked at his tactical display. His battered fleet, the mysterious advanced ship, and the massive alien dreadnought formed a triangle in space around Earth. 3 forces that had been enemies minutes ago, now forced to consider an alliance against something worse. What exactly are you proposing? He asked. Integration, came a new voice. Tactical Officer Shin Bo-ram's hologram appeared on Kim's bridge. She was young, but her eyes held the same ancient wisdom Kim had seen in the other Eternal Journey crew. We link our tactical systems, Create a joint command structure, fight as one fleet instead of three separate forces. Captain Park Soo-jin's voice crackled from Aegis Station. Admiral, can we trust them? Any of them. We don't know anything about these future humans, and the Vorthak were trying to crack our planet open an hour ago. Captain Park raises a good point, said General Choi from the surface. My soldiers have been fighting crystal monsters for a week. Now you want me to tell them we're all friends? Kim understood their concerns, but he also understood desperate times. Captain Yoon, what would this integration involve exactly? We share our quantum communication technology with both fleets, Yoon explained. Every ship, every station, every ground unit gets linked into a single tactical network, real-time coordination across all forces. Communications. Specialist Kang Do-hyun's hologram appeared next to the others. Admiral, our quantum entanglement communicators can connect human brains directly to tactical systems. Reaction times drop to milliseconds. It's like having one mind controlling hundreds of ships. And the Vorthak? Kim asked. How do they fit into this? The crystal song from the dreadnought changed pitch, becoming more complex. Dr. O listened for a moment, then nodded grimly. They're saying their hive mind can interface with quantum networks. They want to add their tactical knowledge to the shared system. Lee Taemin's voice came from Aegis Station, tight with worry. Captain Park, that would mean aliens inside our computer systems, inside our heads. It's a risk, Captain Yoon admitted, but the alternative is facing the Devourers, with three separate, uncoordinated forces. The architects were clear about this, unity or extinction. Dr. Han So-ra's voice came from her bunker laboratory. Admiral, I'm analyzing the Vorthak harmonics. Their communication method is incredibly sophisticated. If we could integrate their hive coordination with human tactical flexibility, we'd have the best of both worlds, Kim finished. Human creativity and alien efficiency, Captain Song Ji-woo called from the damaged Busan runner. Sir, long-range sensors are picking up something at the edge of the system. It's big, and it's not using any technology I recognize. The mood on every ship suddenly became tense. Kang Do-hyun's hologram looked up from invisible controls. Admiral, we're detecting the same thing. The energy signature is wrong. Like it's made of empty space. Devourers? Kim asked. Scout probe, Captain Yoon replied grimly. They send these ahead to taste reality, see if it's worth consuming. We have maybe 6 hours before the main force arrives. The Vorthak song became urgent, almost frantic. Dr. O translated quickly. They're saying the scouts have found us. The Dark Hunger knows we're here. Kim made his decision. All ships prepare for quantum network integration. Captain Park, General Choi, I know this sounds insane, but we need to trust each other or we all die together. Understood, sir, Park replied immediately. General Choi took a moment longer but finally acknowledged the order. Shin Bo-ram's hologram smiled. Beginning integration now. Earth ships, you'll feel a slight tingling as the quantum links establish. Don't fight it. Let the connection form naturally. Kim felt it immediately. A strange sensation like electricity running through his thoughts. Suddenly, he could see through the sensors of every human ship at once. The Soul's Pride, Aegis Station, the Busan runner, dozens of smaller vessels. All their tactical data flowed through his mind like a river of information. But that was nothing compared to what happened when the Vorthak joined the network. The EQ. Alien hive mind touched his consciousness like a vast, cool presence. For a moment, Kim saw the galaxy through crystalline eyes, felt the weight of genetic memory stretching back millions of years. He saw the Vorthak's home worlds, beautiful crystal gardens orbiting twin suns, and watched them die as reality itself unraveled around them. Admiral, Captain Park's voice sounded different, filtered through the quantum network. I can feel everyone. Every human in the fleet, every Vorthak on the dreadnought. We're all connected. The integration was unlike anything Kim had ever experienced. Human intuition blended with Vorthak precision and the eternal journey's advanced knowledge. When he looked at the tactical display now, he could see patterns and possibilities that had been invisible before. This is incredible, Lee Taemin said, his voice filled with wonder. I can predict where the enemy will be before they move. Commander Ryu Sang-ho's voice came from the marine transport ships. Admiral, my soldiers are asking for permission to board the Vorthak ships. If we're really working together, we should have joint boarding parties ready. Through the network, Kim could feel the Vorthak's response. Surprise, then something that might have been approval. The aliens had never worked with individual creatures before, only with other hive minds. Granted, Kim replied, but take volunteers only. And Ryu, bring some of the enhanced soldiers from the Eternal Journey with you. If we're doing this, we're doing it right. As the joint boarding parties formed up, Kim could feel the network growing stronger. Human flexibility was teaching the Vorthak to think in new ways, while Vorthak efficiency was showing humans how to coordinate perfectly. The Eternal Journey's advanced knowledge flowed through both groups, upgrading their capabilities in real time. Admiral, Dr. O's voice was urgent. The Devourer scout is moving toward Earth. Whatever we're going to do, we need to do it now. Through the network, Kim felt the combined will of 3 species focusing on a single goal. Human ships moved with Vorthak precision, while crystal creatures prepared to fight alongside human marines. The Eternal Journey's impossible weapons, charged with power drawn from all their quantum links. All forces, Kim broadcast to the integrated fleet. Prepare for contact with unknown hostile. Remember, we're not human Vorthak or future human anymore. We're something new, something stronger. As the enemy scout probe approached Earth, trailing darkness behind it like a wound in space, the combined fleet prepared to make their stand. 3 civilizations, united by desperation and hope, ready to face the void that wanted to erase them all. The real war was about to begin. The Devourer scout probe looked like a hole cut out of reality itself. As it approached Earth, stars disappeared behind it, not blocked, but simply erased from existence. Admiral Kim Dae-ho felt the combined fear of 3 species flow through the quantum network as they watched the impossible thing drift toward their world. All forces, Kim broadcast through the link, engage the target. Everything we have. The integrated fleet opened fire as one. Human missiles, Vorthak crystal projectiles, and the Eternal Journey's reality-bending weapons struck the probe simultaneously. For a moment, Kim dared to hope they had stopped it. Then their weapons simply ceased to exist. Not destroyed, not deflected. They touched the probe and vanished as if they had never been fired. Admiral, Dr. Oh Jinwoo's voice was tight with fear. That thing isn't just destroying matter. It's unmaking it, removing it from the quantum foam of reality itself. Through the network, Kim felt the Vorthak hive mind's ancient terror. These creatures had watched their entire species flee across the galaxy, always one step ahead of the Devourers. Now there was nowhere left to run. Captain Yoon Ha-young's voice came through the link. Kim, we need to get inside that probe. The architects taught us that Devourers have a central consciousness node. If we can reach it, we might be able to communicate. Communicate with that? Kim asked, watching more stars disappear. It's our only chance, Yoon replied. These things don't destroy because they're evil. They consume because it's all they know how to do. But if we can make them understand that we're aware, that we think and feel. Commander Ryu Sang-ho's voice cut through the network. Admiral, my joint boarding teams are ready. Humans, Vorthak, and enhanced soldiers from the Eternal Journey. If there's a way inside that thing, we'll find it. The probe was getting closer, to Earth, and Kim could see the planet's atmosphere beginning to fade where the thing's influence touched it. They were out of time. Do it, he ordered. The boarding ships launched from multiple vessels, using the Eternal Journey's phase technology, to approach the probe. Kim watched through the network as Commander Ryu led his mixed team toward the impossible enemy. The Marines wore sealed suits that combined human engineering with Vorthak crystal technology and the Eternal Journey's quantum modifications. Next, to them floated Vorthak warriors who had never worked with individual creatures before, their crystal bodies pulsing with nervous energy. Entering the probe now, Ryu reported as his ship phased through the probe's surface. Inside the probe, reality worked by different rules. The boarding teams found themselves walking through corridors that existed in more dimensions than human minds could process. Vorthak crystal sight helped them navigate the impossible geometry, while the enhanced soldiers from the eternal journey guided them toward what their sensors detected as the central consciousness. Admiral, Ryu's voice was strange, filtered through layers of distorted space. We're not the first ones here. There are other beings in this thing, thousands of them. Dr. Han Sora's voice came through the network from her laboratory. Commander, can you describe what you're seeing? They look like they're sleeping, Ryu replied. Different species from all over the galaxy. They're alive, but not aware. Like the probe is keeping them as specimens? Through the network, Kim felt Dr. O's sudden understanding. Admiral, I think I know what's happening. The Devourers aren't just destroying civilizations, they're preserving them, keeping samples of every intelligent species they encounter. Why? Kim asked. Maybe they're not as mindless as we thought. Captain Yoon's voice was thoughtful. Maybe they're trying to understand what intelligence is. Commander Ryu's team reached the center of the probe, where they found a massive crystalline structure that pulsed with dark energy. But as they approached it, the crystal began to change, taking on familiar shapes. It's copying us, Ryu reported. The consciousness node is trying to understand what we are. Suddenly, the probe stopped moving toward Earth. Through the network, Kim felt something vast and alien touch their combined minds. It wasn't hostile. It was curious. Dr. O began translating the contact using the architect's protocols. It's asking what we are. It's never encountered multiple species working together as one mind before. The Vorthak hive consciousness responded first, sharing images of their crystal home worlds and their flight across the galaxy. The humans added their own memories. Earth's blue oceans, the struggle to reach the stars, the desperate fight to survive. The Eternal Journey crew shared their transformation, their meeting with the architects, their long journey home. The Devourer consciousness absorbed it all, and Kim felt its confusion. It had spent eons consuming individual species, preserving them, but never understanding why they fought so hard to live. Show it cooperation, Captain Yoon suggested. Show it what we've become. Through the network, they shared the moment of integration. The fear and mistrust giving way to understanding, enemies becoming allies, three separate forces becoming something greater than the sum of their parts. The response was immediate and overwhelming. The Devourer consciousness recoiled, not in fear but in something like wonder. For the first time in its existence, it saw what intelligence could create when it worked together instead of alone. It's changing, Commander Ryu reported from inside the probe. The crystal structure is growing, connecting to something else. Through the link, Kim felt the consciousness expanding, reaching out across space to touch the minds of other Devourers. They were sharing what they had learned, spreading the knowledge of cooperation and unity through their entire species. Admiral, Dr. Han's voice was filled with awe. The probe is releasing the specimens, all of them, species from across the galaxy, all alive, all being set free. The probe itself began to transform. The dark emptiness that had eaten stars was replaced by a soft blue glow. Where it had unmade matter, now it was building space stations and habitable worlds for the freed species. Through the quantum network, Kim felt the gratitude of thousands of civilizations as they awakened from their long sleep. Many had been prisoners for millennia, kept alive but unaware in Devourer probes. Now they were free, and they all knew who had freed them. This is incredible, Captain Park Soo-jin said from Aegis Station. Admiral, we just turned the galaxy's greatest threat into its greatest hope. General Choi's voice came from the surface, where his soldiers were watching Vorthak crystal creatures carefully tending to human wounded. Sir, I never thought I'd say this, but I think we just taught the universe how to be better. The Devourer probe completed its transformation, becoming a vast space station orbiting Earth. Its consciousness, now fully awakened to the concept of cooperation, sent a final message through the network. Thank you, it said in perfect Korean, then in Vorthak crystal harmonics, then in the ancient language of the architects. We understand now. We will build instead of consume. We will preserve by protecting, not by taking. Kim looked out at the transformed probe at the Vorthak dreadnought that was already beginning to grow new structures to house freed aliens, at the eternal journey with its impossible technology. Most importantly, he looked at his tactical display and saw something that had never existed before, a truly integrated multi-species fleet. Admiral, Captain Yoon's voice held a smile. I think humanity just became something new. Not just humans, not just Vorthak, not just the Eternal Journey crew. We're the galaxy's bridge builders, the ones who turn enemies into allies. Dr. Han's final log entry came through the network, her voice filled with wonder. Today we learned that humanity's greatest strength isn't our technology or our numbers or even our stubbornness. It's our ability to see the person inside the enemy, to find hope in the darkest places, to turn the end of the world into the beginning of something better. As Kim watched the freed alien species beginning to establish colonies around Earth, as he felt the continued integration of human intuition with Vorthak precision and future human wisdom, he realized that the war for Earth had ended the moment it became something greater. The war for the galaxy, not to conquer it, but to unite. It was just beginning, and for the first time since the first Vorthak ship had appeared in Earth's skies, Admiral Kim Dae-ho was looking forward to the future.